National Union of Mine Workers work to structure policies going forward. They've invited government to form part of this session here today, marking day 2 of their National Policy Conference, with men and women gathering from the 9 provinces to really structure the future for the NUM going forward. A number of issues being raised here already, and we have various ministers that are really coming through to assure the workers here that work continues even in government to ensure that some of their concerns don't fall on deaf ears. One of those is Minister Kgosientsho Ramokgopa. Is the Minister of Electricity, and is going to give us a sense of what he presented here. We hear you talking about Eskom 2.0, you're talking about a trilemma that we find ourselves in, but really when you look at it, just a lot of work that has been done even behind to ensure that the lights are on. The workers really have been concerned about also their future, looking at the economy that has been affected by load shedding as we saw it play out, and most of them just seeking to hear from you as government as to, is the future still intact where Eskom is concerned, where the lights are on? Is where we are right now short-lived? And you gave us that assurance that at least that work continues, especially there at Eskom. Just give us a sense of why we find you here, and how important is it that you engage with these men and women here?
Well, first is that workers are an important component of the stakeholders in the resolution of load shedding. In fact, they are at the forefront of the resolution of this question. So it's important that we come here and acknowledge the contribution they've made. Second is about their future. I mean, it's a human instinct that you'll be worried about your future prospects. So I was making the point, this is government policy. If you look at the integrated resource plan, coal is still part of the energy mix. Even the one that has gone out of public consultation, IRP 2023, coal is still the backbone. So base load is coal, is nuclear, is gas, is hydro. Of course, there's going to be an exponential rise on new forms of generation, cleaner technologies, PV, and also wind. They are going to be part of the anchors of the economy going into the future. But I think there has to be an appreciation that there's policy certainty going into the future. And then we're doing everything possible to ensure that you reduce the emissions level. Working with the Council for Geoscience, they are looking at technologies that they can do carbon capture and or clean coal. Because once you resolve that question, it means that you can continue to exploit this resource. Because you are not sitting necessarily with a coal problem, you are sitting with an emissions problem. And you know what emissions does to climate change, devastating communities, especially the poor. You have seen parts of the Eastern Cape and KZN. So it's important that we have that appreciation, accept that we have to transition. But it's important that those spaces where you have these coal mines, coal-fired power stations, we don't obliterate, if you like, their economies. We're learning from what we did in Komati. Komati is what time does the bridge is spilled milk, won't cry from that. But what is important is the lessons that to be drawn from there. You must front load these opportunities. What do I mean? That make sure that the benefits are seen as you decommission, as you transition, so that the workers know that it's fine. I might not be in the coal space as a source of technology. We are going cleaner, but I'm still guaranteed of my employment, and in fact these are the skills of the future, and then I'll be reskilled to participate, be a meaningful player in the economic complex of the country.
And we know very well, Minister, that you were deployed to look at the issue of load shedding, where we find ourselves now. We haven't had load shedding. We're in the 70 days or so mark without any rolling blackouts, and we see this shift in the political climate now in terms of just following the elections and these ministries. Are we going to see you coming back? The Ministry of Electricity, is it still one that you reckon is still needed to carry on with this work that you've started with the work of the plan that is underway right now? What has been the thinking? What is your thinking? How do we move, actually looking at where we find ourselves now?
Well, first, the assumption is that there will be a government in place. I'm confident that we'll move in that direction, that we are going to come into some agreement, of course. And then the second assumption is that is the ANC president that will be at the helm. I'm confident that will move in that direction. The third one is that president, which is hopeful President Ramokgopa, will then make a determination whether there's a necessity to continue with this dispensation. But what I can tell you is that we are not out of the woods yet. So I've been saying this consistently. So we have not ended load shedding. So what we have done, we've seen significant levels of improvement, attenuation, 77 days without load shedding. But you need new generation capacity. You need to modernize and expand your transmission network so that you are able to accommodate new generation capacity from renewable that is in the Cape provinces, Northern Cape, Eastern Cape, and the Western Cape. Once we get to that stage, then of course, depending who that person is, can say with a degree of confidence that we have eliminated load shedding. But I think what we have seen is significant improvement, and thanks to these men and women, some of who are working for ESCOM, part of NAM, they've gotten us to where we are. I think it's only polite, it's only human just to come back to them and say thank you, but the work is not done. Let's continue on this trajectory. So I think that a more transfixed, focused approach has given us the fruits, and I think you need to have that degree of consistency, but that's for the president to make that determination.
All right, Minister Kgosientsho, Ramokgopa, thank you very much. Everything of the best for the future. I mean, we find ourselves here as a country right now, but you hear the minister saying that really when you look at it, we're not out of the woods yet. There's still a lot of work that is being done here. There was talks around the just energy transition and how we move to balance things, looking at the social needs of the country, the economic needs of the country, but also speaking about the decommissioning of some of these coal-fired power stations, the delays saying that they're starting to bear fruit. Even Minister Pravin Gordhan, the Minister of Public Enterprises, was here earlier on as well, seeking to assure the workers or the members of NUM that work has been done to stabilize the state-owned entities that have not done well, one of them being ESCOM. I'm Katlego, Legodi for SABC News in Boksburg.